It is not in Burkina Faso that they will come to give crumbs because they are hungry. It is not in Burkina Faso. We should no longer be seen as beggars. It is us who should give to others what we have not finished consuming. It is us who should do the right thing. So, that is why I invite people to change their mindset. Believe in yourselves. It is possible. There are many challenges. There are many challenges. There are many things to accomplish. Just now, I discussed with the customary and religious authorities about the case, for example, of water reservoirs. In the Cascades region, there's only one dam, and it is silted up. A dam built since 1962. You need many dams here, because the region is rich. The entire border strip, whether it's the Cascades region or the Southwest region, it rains abundantly. There are many waterways. We just left Pura not long ago. We know it's the same type of climate, but how many water reservoirs? There are none. We have become aware of this situation. That's why I instructed the minister to first equip Sonater so that it becomes operational, meaning it should have its own machinery capable of developing the lands themselves. We are also in the process of reviving.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we bring you a story of transformation, courage, and agricultural revolution unfolding in the heart of West Africa. A story that is not only reshaping a nation's economy, but also redefining what is possible when visionary leadership meets the will of the people. This is the story of Captain Ibrahim Traoré, a young and determined leader who dared to dream beyond the crises and conflicts that have defined Burkina Faso for decades. While many viewed the landlocked nation through the lens of poverty, hunger, and insecurity, Captain Traoré saw something different: potential. Backed by a $400 million investment and spanning over 700,000 hectares of fertile land, this project is more than a farming operation. Captain Traoré has declared that Burkina Faso must no longer depend on imports to feed its people. That vision has turned into real action. Action that's now producing bumper harvests, stabilizing food prices, creating jobs, and drawing the attention of international investors. It is a national revival. Under his leadership, Burkina Faso has embarked on one of the most ambitious agricultural projects in the history of the region, an initiative boldly titled the MAIZE Project. At its core, the MAIZE Project is about one thing: food sovereignty. Delegations from across Africa and beyond are now seeking to learn from this model. A model that proves that food security is not just a Western donation or a policy paper. It is a product of leadership, grassroots participation, and belief in African capability. Imagine, if you will, thousands of young people working side by side in once abandoned rural fields, reviving the land, building irrigation systems, planting drought-resistant maize varieties, and using solar-powered tools to reclaim their future. Picture rural women leading cooperatives, running agro-processing centers, and becoming key suppliers in regional food markets. The voices of farmers, the energy of youth volunteers, and the vision of a leader whose mission is clear: to feed his people, grow his economy, and show Africa and the world that a better future is not only possible, it's already being planted. Once a net importer, Burkina Faso is now exporting surplus maize to neighboring countries, reversing decades of dependence. Rural employment has soared, and food prices have dropped significantly. What once seemed like a dream is now a documented success. Envision villages once burdened by hunger now filled with grain, pride, and prosperity. That is the new reality taking root across Burkina Faso. In just over a year since its launch, the MAIZE Project has already tripled the country's maize production, and the world is watching. Experts from the African Union, the Food and Agriculture Organization, and development banks have taken notice. This story is about more than agriculture. It is about what happens when a country stops waiting for handouts and starts harvesting its own destiny. Tonight, we invite you to journey with us through the fields of maize. This is the beginning of a new chapter for Burkina Faso. This is the MAIZE Project. And this is the story of a captain who turned seeds into a national movement. Stay with us.
Welcome to African Narrative, your home for real African stories, unfiltered and unapologetic. From political shifts to cultural triumphs, we bring you the news, voices, and perspectives shaping the continent. Here, Africa tells its own story, bold, raw, and authentic. If you're ready to see Africa through African eyes, you're in the right place. Subscribe and stay connected to the pulse of the motherland. Disclaimer: the views expressed on African Narrative are for informational and educational purposes only. We aim to present African stories truthfully, but we are not affiliated with any government, political party, or organization. All footage and commentary are used under fair use. Always do your own research. This is Africa, from our lens, bold, honest, and independent.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this exclusive broadcast. I am your host, and today we bring you a groundbreaking story straight from the heart of West Africa. A story not just about agriculture or economics, but about vision, leadership, and the unstoppable will of a nation ready to rise. In Burkina Faso, a land long challenged by economic hardship and food insecurity, hope now springs from the fields bursting not just with maize, but with the dreams of millions. At the helm of this extraordinary transformation stands a man known not just for his military might, but for his commitment to national revival, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Tonight, we take you through the full story of the Mega Maize Project, a $400 million agricultural revolution that is rewriting the future of Burkina Faso. Let's dive in. In late 2022, the young and determined Captain Traoré assumed leadership of Burkina Faso under tense and uncertain circumstances. Amid political instability and a rising tide of insecurity, many asked, could this new leader turn the tide? But while others speculated, Captain Traoré strategized. From day one, he declared food sovereignty a top national priority. A nation that cannot feed itself is not truly independent, he said during his first national address. It was more than a speech. It was a declaration of intent. Soon after, whispers began circulating in Ouagadougou. The captain was plotting something big, something rooted in the land. The world would come to know it as the Mega Maize Project. Spanning over 700,000 hectares of arable land, the Mega Maize Project was envisioned to be one of the largest single-crop initiatives in West Africa's history. With an initial investment of $400 million, the plan included massive land preparation across 11 provinces, introduction of hybrid and drought-resistant maize varieties, deployment of solar-powered irrigation systems, establishment of rural agro-processing hubs, direct employment of 120,000 rural workers, and strategic partnerships with local cooperatives and international agritech firms. The aim? To boost Burkina Faso's maize output by over 600% in just 3 years, and position the nation as a net exporter of grain by 2026. No longer would Burkinabe children go hungry during the lean season. No longer would women walk miles to find affordable food. Captain Traoré envisioned a nation in which the soil itself would feed, employ, and empower its people. But the road was not easy. The launch phase in early 2023 was met with a host of challenges. Banditry in the northern provinces made initial deployment risky. Lack of agricultural machinery threatened early-stage operations. Drought conditions worsened in the east. Critics questioned whether such an ambitious project could be delivered in a country fighting insurgency and economic crisis. But Captain Traoré and his task force pressed forward. The government signed a fast-track procurement agreement with manufacturers from Brazil, Turkey, and India to supply over 4,000 tractors, seeders, and threshers within 6 months. In collaboration with local engineers, the state deployed drone surveillance over farmlands to monitor both crop health and security threats. They brought in youth volunteers from across the country, called the Green Guard, to assist with sowing, guarding, and harvesting. This was not just farming. This was national mobilization. In October 2024, the first harvest came in. And what a harvest it was! Burkina Faso yielded over 3.8 million metric tons of maize, more than triple the previous record. The markets in Ouagadougou and Bobo Dioulasso overflowed. Prices stabilized. For the first time in decades, maize was not imported, but exported to Ghana, Niger, and even as far as North Africa. The GDP saw a historic jump of 5.4%, led largely by the agricultural sector. rural incomes soared. Food inflation dropped by 37%. And in villages once forgotten by policymakers, celebrations broke out. In Kaya, children danced under maize stalks taller than their homes. In Dori, women ululated as trucks carried bags of grain to markets. A nation had not just grown food, it had grown dignity. Soon, the world took notice. Delegations from the African Union, FAO, World Bank, and private investors from across Europe and Asia began flocking to Burkina Faso. They came not with lectures or demands, but with partnership proposals. The African Development Bank committed $50 million to fund agro-processing facilities in rural areas. The UAE offered to build storage silos with advanced cooling systems. The Chinese Agricultural Academy proposed a maize research institute in Kédougou. For once, Burkina Faso was not begging for aid. It was being courted for collaboration. Captain Traoré had a clear response. We welcome partners, but we remain owners of our land, our vision, and our maize. But the Mega Maize project was just the beginning. Inspired by its success, the government unveiled the Agro-BFA 2030 Blueprint, a comprehensive rural development plan to include rice belt expansion along the Muhan River, shea butter and groundnut processing clusters in the southwest, agro-education centers in all 13 regions, microcredit schemes for women-led farms, and biofertilizer factories to reduce chemical imports. The idea? To transform agriculture from subsistence to sovereignty, from survival to success. And leading this charge is not a foreign consultant, not a billionaire donor, but a captain in fatigues who believes in the power of the African soil. Let's now hear from those at the front line of this transformation. Fatimata, 38, a maize farmer from Tinkadogo, says, "Before, I harvested just enough to feed my children. Now, I sell to 3 towns. I have built a new house. This is more than maize. It is my freedom." Kusub, 22, a youth volunteer with the Green Guard. Captain Traoré gave us the chance to work, to build, to be proud. I'm not thinking of migrating. My future is here. Alassane Ouedraogo, Minister of Agriculture. This is a moment of rebirth. We have shown Africa that food security is possible, not with foreign aid, but with local will. Burkina Faso's success carries meaning beyond its borders. In a world racked by climate change, supply chain disruptions, and food insecurity, this small landlocked nation has become a case study in resilience. It sends a clear message. African nations can lead, feed, and rise on their own terms. Captain Traoré's model is already being studied by Mali and Chad, with discussions on regional maize trade corridors and seed-sharing programs. Burkina Faso may no longer be seen as a peripheral player. It is now a pioneer. As we look ahead, one thing is clear. This project is more than just an agricultural win. It is the foundation of a new kind of legacy. Captain Traoré is not just waging a battle against hunger. He is waging a war for African dignity, economic freedom, and generational transformation. In classrooms, children now write essays about maize as a symbol of national pride. In university lecture halls, scholars are already coining the phrase Traorean agriculturalism. His leadership reminds us that when political will meets grassroots energy, miracles happen, even in the Sahel. So, what does $400 million truly buy? In the case of Burkina Faso, it bought millions of smiling children with full stomachs, farmers who now sleep without fear of poverty, a GDP growing not from mines or oil, but from seeds and sweat, a leader praised not just for his strength, but his strategy. More importantly, it bought a new narrative, one that says, we are no longer the hungry. We are the harvesters. This is not just a maize project. This is a movement, a monument, a message to Africa and the world. And as we close this special report, we salute the farmers, the laborers, the dreamers, and above all, the captain whose courage turned fallow land into a field of gold. Thank you for joining us on this remarkable journey into the heart of West Africa's most inspiring transformation. I'm your presenter, and this has been our special report, Captain Traoré's Mega Maize Project, the $400 million boom that changed Burkina Faso. Stay informed, stay inspired, and as always, keep your eyes on Africa.
As reaction continues across the continent and beyond, African Narrative will be here to bring you the latest voices, truths, and perspectives. If this story spoke to you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let's keep amplifying African stories that matter. This is more than news. It's our voice, our vision, our narrative. Until next time, stay bold and stay connected.